Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Top Hat Gaming Man here. And if yesterday you went on the information superhighway, aka the World Wide Web, you may have noticed that everyone in the gaming community have been talking about exactly the same thing. But what's new in this cyber echo chamber, eh? So, the topic at hand, which everyone's been going on about, is IGN, because apparently a reviewer on their site has published a video review which has completely plagiarized the work of a smaller YouTuber, yes. So, whilst obviously this is wrong, let's discuss the subject in a little bit more depth today than most other people appear to have gone into. So, if you look on the internet, as I said, you will see pitchforks and torches bloody everywhere. Everyone seems to be out to look for this reviewer and send him as much abuse in comment sections as they possibly can. It looks like the mentality at the moment is that everyone simply wants to hang, draw and quarter the poor little bugger. Now, I completely agree that light needed to be brought to this situation. In fact, I've even done a similar thing myself in the past. This time last year, Watch Mojo were pretty much guilty of exactly the same situation. Guru Larry made a video on 5 of the worst selling consoles of all time, and then basically Watch Mojo directly plagiarized his work. So I understand that light needs to be brought to these situations in order to create change. There's no question there whatsoever. However, since IGN have already admitted something needs to be done, surely it's almost a closed matter by this point. Why is the torrent of abuse still going on and on and on? With Watch Mojo, it was a completely different kettle of fish. When I uploaded the video regarding that situation, I was the only person on the whole of the information superhighway who reported on the matter. And apart from that as well, Guru Larry is a personal friend of mine. So therefore, I felt I had a stake in the whole thing and was really angry that a big corporate website had basically stolen from one of my friends. Like, there was a genuine gripe there. Another big difference between this Watch Mojo and IGN fiasco, though, as I said, is immediately, like I said, Watch Mojo have taken it down and more importantly admitted fault. Whereas Watch Mojo, on the other hand, took the video down not because they admitted to plagiarism to Mr. Larry Bundy Jr., but because they claimed they was taking it down because his original video was fake news. That was their words, and apart from that as well, there was no public apology given. They tried to sweep the entire thing completely under the rug. So at least IGN are handling the situation in a much more professional manner than what Watch Mojo did this time last year. Whilst I agree that IGN appear to be handling this situation a lot more professionally than certain others who have been accused of this sort of thing in the past, it still raises the huge question regarding their processes and basically their duty of care to their employees. If this gentleman as an individual did plagiarize another individual's work, then where was the process by the large corporate body, IGN, in actually checking whether this work was original? You would think a large company like that would have a lot of processes in place to make sure that the work was done properly, wouldn't you? Like, for example, I've been to university and I know they do proper plagiarism checks, so why can't a large company like IGN? Whilst the statement they have issued, as I have said, is all fine and dandy, it still does smell slightly of them just kind of leaving the employee stranded, kicking water, left to take all the flack himself. Because if you look at the mob mentality of the internet, that's who they seem to be attacking more than anyone else. They don't seem to particularly care that much about this large corporation making tons and tons of profit. All they care is about this individual making a mistake. Which is rather odd, as I said, because you've got to look at the bigger picture and whose fault this situation really all is. Obviously, this employee does have to take some of the responsibility for himself. but at the same time I do think it's grossly unfair at the amount of cyber attacks he appears to be receiving. Every minute of every day, people are sending him completely pointless abuse, like calling him scum and all sorts. Like, I understand negative criticism, but literally going onto someone's Twitter page or into the YouTube comment section just to insult them, like, how immature is that? And how pointless is that? It achieves absolutely nothing other than potentially hurting someone's feelings and potentially even going as far as to affect their mental health. The employee in question is already in deep hot water, and as a result may lose his job, and even further than that, may end up losing his career altogether. The man is already losing at this point. The man is down and out on the floor. He's already lost. So why is everyone so sick in the head that they feel the need to carry on kicking the corpse of this man whilst he's already on the floor? Like, what is wrong with everyone's sick mentality today? You would think we were still in the days of the Roman Colosseum, where someone makes a small mistake and they get thrown out to the lions whilst everyone else just continues to shout and hurl abuse at them. The whole situation is absolutely sick when you think about it. So overall, this man has been punished for his crimes, so why continue to subject him to any further abuse? That ship should have already sailed. He's already atoned for his crimes, essentially. However, if you look at IGN, that's who your anger should be directed to. Put your anger towards the corporation, not the smaller man. You've got to think about the question, why did this individual need to do this? That's what you've really got to think about. Why was he so desperate to get a video out that he found the need to copy someone else's work? What sort of pressure are IGN putting on their employees in order to basically render such a response? IGN should have noticed this problem, as I said, way before it was published. He should not have needed to take this flack in the first place. The flack should have been given from his employer. It was their job to seek retribution on him. Instead, because of their absolutely awful processes and quality control, they have let this video get out into the internet ether, I suppose, and have now basically said, oh, it's not really our fault, but we'll look into it, and just letting him take all the blame instead. I actually feel that I may perhaps have a slightly better insight into this situation and this man than perhaps some others who have commented on this situation, because I have actually been prosecuted for plagiarism myself in the past. Yes, I'm admitting it now, I have been done for plagiarism. I plagiarised work back when I was in university, when I was perhaps 19 years old, I think, no, 20, I was 20 years old. Basically, I had submitted work and it got sent back to me and says, no, we're not accepting this, you have plagiarised. And during this time period of my life, I was going through absolute hell and back. My uncle had just died in a tragic motorbike accident. He was only 33 years old, 6 months older than I am now. So who's to know whether this IGN employee isn't undergoing similar trauma himself at the moment, and you could all perhaps just be making his life even worse than it already is. More importantly than that, I will say, although I plagiarised, I did not purposely or even knowingly do it. And this could very much be exactly the same situation with this employee in question. For example, I submitted this assignment and I pulled information from a range of different sources for this academic essay. However, after pulling all of these sources, I obviously did not reword the work enough. But I was in such a trance at the time with regards to my life, I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. So whilst everyone's saying, yes, this person plagiarised and he did it knowingly, I wouldn't say he necessarily did. Because when you're under a lot of stress, you genuinely do not have a clue what you're doing. You can't even remember what happened 10 minutes ago. So people really have to look at this whole situation perhaps through a slightly different lens in which most people appear to be trying to present it as. Thinking about it, I would make the wild assumption that the majority of professional writers are probably creatives. And most creatives tend to think about a lot of things extremely deeply, and with this deeper thinking it sometimes causes negative thought trails or even depression in a lot of individuals. So we already know this individual was under a lot of stress, so would any of us want to potentially trigger a worst case scenario? I'm not saying with this situation the worst is going to happen, because in all likelihood everything is going to be fine. However, if you look on the information superhighway, amongst YouTubers and amongst creatives in general, musicians, directors, actors, everyone in this field, you will notice that the rate of suicide is extremely high. So why continue to basically poke the beehive with your stick in order to basically continue to make someone miserable who is already at their lowest point, continuing to kick the person whilst they are already on the floor? So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to summarise this video with please move on from kicking this man. I do not know this Philip, I've never met him in my life, I've never spoken to him in any way. I'm looking at this purely from an outsider's perspective, but I would say direct all your anger directly towards IGN itself. That is the company made up of hundreds of employees who can all take the flak and balance the flak out somewhat, if you know what I mean. Less emotional harm will be done that way. Further to that as well, I genuinely think it is their duty of care to protect their employees. They shouldn't be letting him take all this flak in the first place. And more importantly than that, they should have been able to identify this problem before they published it in the first place. So if anyone's scumming all of this, it's IGN directly. Cheerio.